Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. A lot of people have asked me, what do you mean when you say it's coming down the pike, or when the balloon goes up, or what do you think the possible causes for, the crap hits the fan, stuff like that. What do I see coming? Please explain that to us. Okay, I kind of thought we were all on the same page, and I thought it was obvious, but enough people have asked me, I'm going to do that. I guess the first thing, and this will be kind of American-centric for the most part because it's where I live, right? But some of it's international. The first thing I guess we can look at is natural disasters. I just saw that movie, San Andreas, right? It's an okay summer flick. Unrealistic, but okay. But if San Andreas goes off, and when it goes off, everybody knows it's going to go off again, it will create massive devastation in California. California is vital to the U.S. economy, and the recovery effort and just dealing with that is going to be a huge hit on America for San Andreas. So that's one. Moving up the coast a little bit, the Ring of Fire, that's the volcanoes that are all around the Pacific Rim. They're starting to rumble, right? And those babies could go off. Come in west, or come to the east a little bit, as I look at it this way as you look at it, I guess. Yellowstone caldera. Huge. If you don't know about that, look it up. When that baby goes off, it will be a problem for America, a big problem. When I lived in Kansas, we had a 15-minute bug-out plan. If that baby went off, as soon as I heard it went off, 15 minutes later, we were out of there. Now that we're further south, I don't really have a plan in place hard to deal with it. But that's a huge thing, and that will devastate the whole center part of America, which will affect you no matter where you live. New Madrid. A lot of people write me comments, well, you're in the Ozarks, that's right in the New Madrid fault zone. No, it's not. Look at a map, call up New Madrid, look at its map, where it says, it is. And basically the New Madrid goes north and east from the southern part of Missouri. That's where the effects are. But New Madrid, when it goes off, and evidently it is overdue, just like the caldera and San Andreas are overdue, when it goes off, I knew a guy who worked for FEMA, kind of the southern portion down there. He wasn't in charge of it all, but he worked there. And they studied and came up with plans for New Madrid. And he told me that if New Madrid goes off, every bridge south of St. Louis across the Mississippi is going to be inoperable. And it's not just the bridges and the traffic, it's also the gas and oil pipelines that go under there and the fiber optics that go under all those bridges gone, right? And that's what feeds the East Coast, which is where most of our population is. Big problems, right, if that happens. And so that's one. Google this one if you don't know about it. The Canary Islands and the super tsunami. Evidently, there's some volcano in the Canary Islands that when a chunk of this mountain falls off, and it's a when, not an if, it's going to create this super tsunami that's going to hit the United States East Coast and devastate it, wipe it out to the mountains, And these are scientists saying this, not some old crazy guy sitting in a cabin in the woods, right? That's why I said to you, go ahead and read, and read what like Noah says about it and stuff like that. I believe our powers that be know this and are planning for it, and I'll give you some examples. The FBI built a huge facility data center in West Virginia, in the mountains, outside of Quantico, where their headquarters is. Defense Intelligence Agency is moving their operations from the D.C. area across the mountains into the Shenandoah Valley in Charlottesville. The federal government is doing a whole lot of stuff in Denver and Colorado Springs. I believe they're starting to create like an alternate headquarters kind of thing out there. If you look at that and kind of read all the little news snippets. Somebody, was it the Fed? Was it Wall Street? I don't know. I'm not a financial guy, even though I'm going to talk about that soon. They're moving their headquarters, or they're setting up an alternate headquarters in Chicago, just in case, getting it out of New York, right? Yeah, I think they know something's coming, or potentially coming, and so they're trying to get out of there. So that tsunami is one. Coronal mass ejection, right? We keep getting bombarded by the news, which is an interesting term in relation to this subject. We keep getting bombarded by the news with stories of sunspots that could fry all the circuits. And whether it's natural from the sun or an EMP or a false flag that's an EMP that people say is from the sun. It doesn't matter. If it happens, it'll fry most of the circuits, and all electronic stuff will stop in the affected area. And I guess it's possible for the affected area to beat North America. And if that happens, bad things are going to happen. Not only will all the trucks quit moving, right? All the radios quit working, most. And so food and water's not being delivered. Medicine won't be delivered. And there's a lot of people in this country who are on drugs. I don't mean illegal drugs. I mean on drugs that they need, right? And or that they think they need, mood-altering drugs. And when they don't get them, they're either going to get hinky or start getting real sick, depending on what kind of regimen they're on. Example: diabetics. And if you're a diabetic and something like this happens, you're in trouble. You may die. If you are the kind of diabetic that can change your diabetes through, extreme exercise and diet, I highly recommend you do it. Get off of the, I don't know what is that, type 2 diabetes or something like that? There's a way to come back from that, I think. You guys who are diabetics know this. If you are, I encourage you to do what you need to do to get off that daily med that you need to take. But, there's that. I guess the next thing to look at is the economy, right? I'm not an economist, but I kind of peruse people who are. Some of you know a whole lot more about economics than I do. But even somebody like me can see that not just America, but the world is in trouble. Greece is, as I'm making this, it's first day, Sunday. Greece on Thursday told everybody, we may close the banks on Monday. So what do you think happened on Friday? Right? Everybody started pulling their money out of the banks. And I guess Greece is getting ready to probably default. They elected somebody who said we're not going to do the austerity measures. I have my own views on that. But evidently, if push comes to shove, this could be the beginning of the collapse of the Eurozone. Okay, well, we're Americans. We don't care. Yeah, it'll affect us, right, if that happens. And so, that their economy's in trouble. China's economy is in trouble. Reading some articles in the last couple of days about China's bubble that's getting ready to burst. Russia has been in economic trouble. They're just covering it up with bluster. And, of course, America, we are whistling past the graveyard. Doo-doo-doo, nothing's wrong here, nothing to see here, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And when it goes, it's going to be horrible. I mean, when your dollar is worthless, when the dollars you have in the bank are basically no longer exist, wow. And I don't even have a full handle on the scope of what's going to happen when nobody has any money, really, in America, and what that's going to mean. But there are people who do, and I encourage you to watch them and listen to them. But the bottom line is, when the economy collapses in this country and elsewhere, things are going to get bad fast. What do governments, what do powers that be always do in really bad economic times? Historically, they go to war, right? They go to war because war diverts the attention from me, your fearless leader, ruler, who got you into this mess. And so instead of being mad at me, let's go kill them. Yeah, USA, USA. Excuse me. And so it diverts the people's attention. And so countries go to war. And plus, war is great for the economy, right? I mean, it is. And so look for that to happen. What kind of wars? What kind of wars could possibly happen? This is not, what's coming up immediately next is not your hot button. It is your hot button. I'm going to disable it to go off on tangents and scream about this, that, or the other thing. But the reality is war is coming between Israel, Iran, Syria, that whole thing. Doesn't matter why, it matters that it is. And when it does, that's going to affect a lot of things. It's probably going to affect you in America, right? You, Joe Regular, sitting there in your living room. So that's coming. Russia is trying to reassert herself and kind of regain, if you will, at least influence in the former Soviet Union, all her buffer border states. And I do not blame her for that at all. It says I got low battery. Let's get this baby going. And so, look at Ukraine. If you read the news, we are putting forces in place in Ukraine. Russia's putting forces in place in Ukraine. There's a fight coming. And anytime there's a fight between the U.S. and Russia or the U.S. and China, that's bad, not just for us, but for the world, right? So keep an eye on that. China's asserting herself in the South China Sea. Her neighbors don't like it. And, she's like pumping sand up from the ocean and making islands and then putting airfields on them. It's all about oil, right? It's all about oil, which is another whole video, but I'm running out of battery. So China and the neighbors and people getting antsy out there. Yeah, I'm sure there's other wars. ISIS, the best army money can buy. It doesn't matter, the fact that we professionalized ISIS and I believe helped start ISIS. We equipped them and then we equipped them again by giving them all the brand new stuff we gave Iraq, which we knew they would never hold on to. It really doesn't matter if you know that or believe that. If the average American were parachuted into ISIS-controlled territory and captured, you would die a terrible death. Right? And so it is what it is. It doesn't really matter why, and that's kind of an important thing. Another thing, race war, right? Which is exacerbated. It's made worse by economic downturns. If you are a person who is upset about all the blacks killing whites or all the whites killing blacks or that kind of thing, that white Edomite cop killed that black person. If you're that kind of person, or vice versa, look at that, I don't use words like that, but look at that black person who killed that white family, whatever. If you're a person who gets upset about that and comments on social media about that, understand this, you're being played. They've got a hook in you, and they know when they tug it, you react, right? And I probably need to do a video on that. But Jesus, Yeshua said, nation will fight against nation. And when he talked about that, that was ethnos against ethnos. That's race against race. Race war is coming to America, and it's being facilitated. If you look at the love Christ talks about for your fellow man, that's the counter to that. Love your fellow man. Does that mean that you won't, you fall into ISIS hands and loving them is going to work? No. At that point, you got to, do something else. But don't fall for the trap. Another video for another time. There's more stuff coming. There's plagues coming that we're creating and all that kind of stuff too. There's, the agriculture industry is going to collapse. Stuff like that could happen. But check this out. Basic preparedness covers a myriad of ills. If you are not in the immediate kill zone of any of these things and you have taken care of basic preparedness, food, water, medicine, protection, a group, the ability to grow more food, produce more food, because you can only store so much food. If you have done that, that will help you weather all of this stuff that could possibly be coming down the pike. That's number one. Number two, finally and most importantly, getting right with God. Right? Yeshua, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes unto the Father but by me. The Father has foreseen the ending from the beginning. He knows what's going to happen. This is all going down a path that's already been foretold. That's why I'm not political anymore. It doesn't matter. What's happening is what's going to happen. And what you vote on isn't going to matter. We are in a fight. You want to talk about, us versus them, because if it's ever us versus them, we always side with the us, right? And so if the powers that be, the black hand, can cast a situation in terms of us versus them, we're always going to choose us and fight against the other. And so if you want to talk about us versus them and the other, there's two sides in this battle. There's Yahweh, the Father, God, the Lord, and the adversary. You better pick your side, and the time is past time to get right with the Father. And so find Jesus. This is not the religious channel. If you want more instruction on that, go to YouTube channel Shofar Mountain, and you'll see more on that. But yeah, get prepared. Stuff's coming. I may see you out there.